So very recently, I got reminded of this one YouTuber and all the drama he caused on YouTube at the time when he was active. His name was Sargon of Akkad. He did some really stupid stuff. And it really got out of hand when he joined politics, which was arguably the stupidest thing a YouTuber has ever done. If you ever want to look into that, he did some really funny stuff, is what I'm trying to say. After getting reminded of him, I just wanted to read up on everything that he did since I stopped following him. And when I wrote his name on Wikipedia, I found the real Sargon of Akkad, who was the man who built the very first empire in known human history. Now, that person is a million times more interesting than a YouTuber that made a fool of himself on live television. It might even haven't interested you just hearing me talk about the fact that he was the man at the top of the very first empire ever. But before we can talk about Sargon of Akkad, we must talk about Mesopotamia. Don't worry, I won't bore you with too much exposition. I will just state the obvious so the story makes more sense, since how can you make something if it has never existed before you? Obviously, you just have to kind of stumble into it, just like nuclear power or plastic or even penicillin, which if you've ever had a fever, it's probably one of the reasons why you're still alive right now. This discovered by a scientist who was very, very bad at cleaning his laboratory. Think about that next time you comment about someone's room being dirty. So the most important part of the story is of course water. Why water? Well, there was a river called Euphrates River. Now this might not sound like much, but in all of human history, nature, being the very definition of perfection, guided humans towards building or inventing to be able to take full advantage of nature, leeching off of it. In this case, it was mud. Fertile mud allowed humans to plant crops which grew faster. With a lot of crops, you end up with a lot of food. And when you have a lot of food, it brings a lot of humans. And when you have a lot of people in one place, they start building. And in this case, they build a city. To be more precise, a city-state. Now what is a city-state? Well, it's a city that's completely independent, which is good. They were all together, they were all working together, getting a lot of food from the river, building technology to be able to take full advantage of the river. Everything was going well. The problem is that the river wasn't small. It was very, very, very big even. And what happens is that you had multiple city-states that developed across the river. And what happens when you have one group of humans and another group of humans? They fight each other. They fight each other over things that they both own for no reason. They just want to fight. That's just what humans do. But that's when our protagonist comes into the picture. He showed up and he was sick and tired of seeing everyone fighting. So what did he do? He fought too. Sargon marched onto every single city-state with his army, taking control of them, unionizing them into one big city, which happened to become this world's, at least known history, first ever empire. He didn't mean to do that. He just was sick of seeing people fight each other. He took control of everything and became the emperor. So now he had his empire and he was at the head of it. And what happens when you have a person with an empire? Well, they start to build up. They started to build bigger and bigger stuff. They started to record history. They had written history, which is how we know about his existence. Sadly, after his death, the empire got pretty shaky. It was given to his sons, and it eventually collapsed 180 years after its foundation. 180 years in terms of empire, that's not a very long time. And of course, they did a lot more stuff. This story has a lot of details. that I'm not gonna go into, since if I did, this video would be 40 hours long, since there is just so much to explain. What is really interesting to look at is that even though this was a very small group of people, since it was just a few cities, they still had the incentive to fight each other. And it took a person marching with an army onto every single city, taking control of all of them, for everyone to finally stop fighting. Now, of course, I'm not saying his empire was perfect. They did impose their own languages on a few cities, which is kind of a mean-spirited thing to do. But they still thrived under Sargon. It kind of shows that the only way we have found to really move forward faster was through conflict. It'd be Sargon marching with his army, or it'd be something like the space race between the USSR and America that allowed us to walk on the moon and finally explore space. The advancements made during the space race are still used now for telecommunication. Something else I want to point out, which I said at the beginning of the video, is that Sargon making the first ever empire, his life being recorded, us finding those records, some person making a Wikipedia article about it, and me stumbling on it, making this video, and you watching this video was purely coincidental and a byproduct of each event's environment, which when you look at it on a timeline, it's pretty crazy that it happened in the first place. Now this video was a fun little project which I've wanted to do for a very long time. Personally, I think that we live in a very amazing age since we have such easy access to pretty much all human knowledge on the planet, especially since we are lucky enough that a lot of people years before us decided to keep records of everything that happened so that we could enjoy it and know about it. If you would like to see more videos like this from me, feel free to subscribe to this channel and like the video. Of course, you can leave a comment telling me what you thought about the video or talking about another topic which you would like to hear me talk about. I will leave the link to the Wikipedia article in the description for you to go check out. I will also leave a link to a music video of someone singing about it in case you want to go enjoy it. I will also be leaving a few other links down below in case you just loved my voice and you would like to hear me go on even more tangents. I do a lot of streaming. Thanks a lot for watching.